Okay, today I want to see how many videos I can get through. Because I have basically three on my mind. Maybe two of them I could combine into one, but mostly it's like three videos I do want to talk about. One of them is black entertainers, and this is following on a Revolt Summit forum. That black entertainers are bad leaders. The other one is the K Michelle thing and submission with the Fantasia thing. I feel like I can combine the Fantasia and the submission thing, but that's gonna be a later video. This video I want to talk about black entertainers are not good leaders. Now, this is old saying, well, not old saying. This is old speech that Malcolm X he was saying when in a white community has like a comedian is like the leader or political leader in the for the white community. It's not. The answer is it's not. It's not one for the Spanish community. They usually run as a group. Um, we feel like black people we're like the only ones that just got like political leaders that I don't want to say speak for all of black people, but it does speak for the huge majority. Like your Martin Luther Kings, your Malcolm X's, your Jesse Jackson. Like we've always had those leaders where other races don't. Even the other minority races, they don't really have leaders because like we say, like people say all the time, the Jewish people they have a system, they have a community, and yet that shit works. China people they have a Chinatown in like mostly every state, and yet they work fine. Like black people, all we got is a bunch of people talking about we need to do this, and yet it never gets done. But with that saying, I do agree with Malcolm X's statement. Yes, as entertainers are bad leaders. There's not a lot of people you don't want to follow, but at the same time, some of the best trendsetters and people who set the best examples were fucking entertainers. You had your Ali's, you had your Muhammad Ali's, you had your Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you had your Jim Browns. I know how people look at Jim Brown now as like a coon, but back then, like Jim Brown was like Black history. Like he was Black history and everything. When you now today, like I feel like we should be focused because a lot of people we should focus on people like Dr. Claude Anderson and people like that, and maybe even Umar Johnson to some people that want to be leaders or but here's the thing, we're not all those people are old. We don't have no one young. Maybe we have an Angela Rye, maybe the guy DeAndre McCudden, the guy that did Black Lives Matter, but I don't really hear from him no more. Plus, I don't think a lot of people was behind him. But you had your Angela Rise, and you have. That's mostly all I know. I know there was people on that Revo Summit, and most of them were entertainers. Well, except for Tamika Mallory. Tamika Mallory, I think she does the women's march and all that other stuff. But for black people, we really don't have no leaders. And then, and you wonder why? Because I don't feel like a lot of them want to die. I with this, if you're like really gonna be like the head of this, or like you want to bring people in, you might have to sacrifice. You might have to be willing to say you die for this. Because Martin, I feel like even Malcolm Malcolm X and Martin Luther King like knew what they was getting into, and they was able to die for it because it's bigger than them. All right, as long as like someone can, I feel like in his opinion, as long as someone can like be in his like steps, like if he dies, someone can be behind him and keep him moving, which really never happened. It's always like for black movement, it's really the literally you're cutting the head off the snake and the body will die. We don't have no like we're we're basically snakes, and then like as soon as you cut off the head, everything else will die because everybody else is just like, what do we do? And nobody wants to die, and then somebody wants to take leave, and then some people just like, I don't want to take leave, I don't want to die, I want to live a long life with family. It's like you appreciate what Martin Luther King does, but a lot of people do not want to be like the head or like the guy to go to when shit hits the fan. Which is why you hear like people like Tariq Nasheed and even Tommy Sotomayor say, "I don't want to be the fucking head of the black community." It's like I don't want. It's like a lot of people feel like it's not worth it, and a lot of people feel like it's not going to die. So who's going to fill that void in? Black entertainers. Now all of them are not bad. Like, but I do get. It's funny because Dick Gregory said the same thing. The worst people to lead are athletes and entertainers. But if you listen to Malcolm X's speech, he pointed out Dick Gregory is one of those people that are bad for. I'm not against Dick Gregory at all. Not against Dick Gregory. But you do if you do listen to that Malcolm X speech, he pointed out Dick Gregory is one of them. Just just saying. But what do you do when the entertainers are the ones that's stepping up? It's like they're the ones stepping up. It's like Jay-Z. A lot of people getting mad at Jay-Z for the whole like NFL shit, but like he said, bring out my rap sheet. You can see what I've done for the past 365 days. And the thing about Jay-Z, his stuff goes years back. Back when he first started. Like, he's been doing things in the community that if you would have never known unless someone would, like, put it in a book or something like that. The shit he's done for 21 Savage, the shit he's done for Meek Mill, the shit he's done for Trayvon Martin's family, the shit he's done for, like, everybody else's family. Like, he's done a lot of stuff for the black community. He started... I think he started a charity in his mother's name. There's a lot of things Jay-Z done. Is that you can't say he's not done fought for black people and black rights. He's been doing that. Killer Mike. Like, I know there's a lot of people that thought the forum was a shit show, and I can understand why, because, you know, some of the niggas there was asking questions that didn't even pertain to the and a lot of people, you know, when they talked about reparations, they kind of like disregard that. I feel like one thing is we need a big talk about reparations and how we need to go about getting it. I know the whole ADOS and descendants of slaves talk is a real big thing, and we'll see how that goes. Like, I still myself need to look further in. My father's really against it, and I'm not saying I'm against it. I just don't know much about it. But I do. But I will say this: like, black people do need to be reparated some way, and that's on that. But back to these leaders is now you have some people like your ASAP Rockies that don't really give a fuck about, you know, the community. But at the same time, why are you asking people who like them? It's like what Dave Chappelle said. Who gives a fuck what Ja Rule got to say? Why am I going to Ja Rule? Where's Ja? Why are we going to these entertainers? Why are we not going to these political... I think there are political people that really, like, wants to, like, help the black community and all that stuff and get them out of this funk, this 400-year funk that we're in. And it shows. You see them once or twice. And then sometimes some of them are really good until a fucking scandal pops up, and then it's like, man, fuck that guy. That's all it takes to kill. Now, trust me when I say this. If that was like that with Martin Luther King alive, we probably would have never got. Probably still be drinking out of colored water fountains and all that other shit. Depending on how you feel about segregation. Woo! But in conclusion, I think if we're going to, like, promote more black leaders, we either have to get rid of the whole leader, like promoting a guy as a leader, or creating a system, or as Jay-Z said, financial freedom is our only hope. Fuck being rich and dying broke. Like, generational wealth. I feel like I'm not saying white supremacy is a great thing, but, you know, we might have to do what white supremacy does. Because a lot of people think white supremacy is a guy, or like, no, white supremacy is a system. And that's why, like, and I've said this all the time, white supremacy doesn't need a face. It is a system. Anytime a white man tries to be the face, he gets cut down. That's why Richard Spencer is not the America's most wanted, or like Hitler. Like, how can I say this? look, he's bad, and he tells you he takes advantage of the white supremacy. But I feel like sometimes he wants to be white supremacy. He wants to be that face of white supremacy, and white supremacy is not having that. It's a system, not a face. I've had this argument with my friend too because we have different opinions about it because he do feel like there are faces, but I said they're not faces. They're just using the system, and I feel like the white supremacy wants to stay faceless because once it has a face, because the whole thing about white supremacy to me, if it has a face, because it's like the thing about white supremacy is it's if it stays faceless, people don't know who they are. Because usually when people like white supremacy, who is running white supremacy? There's no face behind it. That way you can say, oh, you just making shit up, or this shit is just in your head. You're not really doing shit. But let me know what y'all think. My name is Oskina Fly, and I'm out. Peace.